Hello, this is Miss Cliffner with a lesson on finding the area of a triangle. One way to find the area of a triangle is to think of it as one half of a rectangle or one half of a parallelogram. Then after you find the area of the rectangle or parallelogram, you would need to divide by 2 because a triangle is one half of the new shape. So here's what I want you to see. Here's a blue triangle. When I want to find the area, I can take this blue triangle. I call this the copy method. I spin it around, move it down. Look, when you put it together with the second triangle that we made, we now have a parallelogram. Here's the steps here just so you can know what to do and follow along. So to find the area of a parallelogram, I know that I need to take the base times the height, and then I'm going to divide it by 2 because I didn't start out with the green triangle. I only started out with the blue. So I'm going to call this the B base of the parallelogram, and I'm going to count from end to end. I'm counting how many squares go across that line segment, or how many squares the line segment crosses. There's 4. So I write base equals 4 units. Now the height, when I draw a dashed line down to where the base extends to, there's my height. And I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The height is 6 units. When I multiply the 4 units and the 6 units, I get the area of the parallelogram is 24 units squared. But wait a minute, right? I didn't start out with the second triangle, right? We just, oopsies, don't do that. I started out with just this triangle. So we created the second one. So we have to get rid of it by dividing the parallelogram by 2. So the area of the triangle is 12 square units. All right, next. This is the same idea, but I just want you to know that if you have a right triangle, this is great, because when you're using a right triangle, right, it has that nice little 90-degree angle in the corner. When I copy a second triangle, it makes a rectangle. It could also make a square if your dimensions are the same. Rectangle or a square. Okay, so I know how to find the area of a rectangle, right? A lot of times we call this length, then we call this width. I'm going to count. Remember, you're counting from end to end. Just because this blue is not inside of that square doesn't mean it's not part of the length. Okay, there's the length, 6 units, and the width, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the same thing as the height, 4 units. I multiply those together. This one also has an area of 24 square units. But remember, originally we only had one triangle, so we need to divide by 2. The answer is 12 square units are inside of that triangle. Okay, next. So this I call the decompose method. So you could take the triangle and you're going to decompose it and rearrange the pieces to make a parallelogram. I mean, you can make other shapes, but this one makes a parallelogram. So I want you to see, here's the parallelogram. And here's what we did. We took this and we cut the triangle in half across the horizontal line, and then you flip it around and you can see that it will match up to this side. And when you put those two sides together, you have this parallelogram, which, as you know, you need to find the base and you need to find the height. The base is from end to end, that line segment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So base equals 6 units and height equals 1, 2 units. When you multiply these together, you get 12 units squared. Now, you don't need to divide anything because we didn't create anything that wasn't already there. We just took this piece and we cut it off and we moved it, right? We didn't make something, we made a new shape, but not by copying. Okay, so this is my decompose and cut method. Here's the third method. This one can be a little bit confusing for people, so hopefully if I highlight, you'll see where I'm going with this. The final way, I'm going to call this the box method. You box the triangle in a large rectangle. And then that large rectangle can be decomposed into 2 smaller rectangles. So here's what you do. You start at the left-hand side and you draw a line straight up. Oops, that's not so straight. Go up to the top of the triangle, go across the triangle, and stop at the right-hand edge and draw the line down. Now it looks pretty similar. I could draw the dashed lines, but here's what I want you to see. I'm going to highlight this. There is now a left rectangle and there is a right rectangle. So I need to find the area of these two rectangles. And inside the rectangle is kind of cool. This was the original triangle, and that was the original triangle. It's right there. But we copied a second one when we boxed it. So now we can find the area of two rectangles. The green rectangle is 1, 2, 3, 4 along the length, and 1, 2, 3 along the width. 4 times 3 equals 12 units squared. The blue one is 1, 2 times 1, 2, 3. 2 times 3 equals 6 units squared. Now, if I add those together, I get 18 units squared. That would be the whole entire rectangle, like this. But wait a minute. These pieces here weren't there to begin with. So I have to divide out half of this rectangle and half of this rectangle. I can just take my total and divide by 2. Oops, let's switch to red. The answer is 9 square units. This triangle is 6 units squared, and this little triangle is 3 units squared. I could have done this. Divide by 2. You see how that gives me the area? And then if I divide this one by 2, that gives me the area there. And then I could add the 6 plus 2 to get 9. Okay, that's the lesson for today.